Yo, what's going on, everybody? GZTV back with another video, and in this video we are going to be reviewing the 1974 original film Black Christmas. Now, I know there's remakes. I'm probably never going to watch them. I'm just going to keep this franchise as the original, because it's what has been recommended to me by many. So, yeah, Black Christmas. A Christmas movie with a very twisted vibe, very kind of creepy, very like breathing down your neck, very suspenseful vibe. So let's just get to the plot. This is a spoiler review. I do talk about what happens in the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, these are reviews for people who have seen the movie, so we can kind of converse and talk about what everybody thinks about it. You know? So let's just get into it. Hopefully I'm in the frame as well as I can. Hold on, let me change my camera a little bit. That should work out. Okay. That should work. Alright. An unseen man climbs the exterior of a sorority house where a Christmas party is being held and enters the attic. Now, it takes a while. I love the mysteriousness of the like obscurity of this guy. Like, we don't know who actually does this until a while into the film. The house phone rings and Jess Bradford answers to discover it is an obscene phone call from a person who has called before, known as the Moaner. That's what, like, the killer's, the horror icon's name is kind of given in this film, the Moaner, which is kind of weird, but it's like a very like perverted killer. He like stalks these girls, yeah. Jess calls the other sorority girls and they listen as the caller rants, moans, and screams in strange voices. Very creepy shit. It almost gives you like the Joker vibes, like something like voices like the Joker would make. I don't know. It's weird, man. I've never really seen a movie like this. It's kind of a cool concept, like a sorority house of girls. You know, it's Christmas time, which is like pretty contradictory. Like a Halloween horror movie made during the Christmas time, take place during the Christmas time. The girls are initially startled by the caller, but Barb, an inebriated student, insults the caller. After a moment of bickering, the caller threatens to kill them in a sudden low tone, and they don't really think much of it. Obviously, they think it's like a joke. They think it's like a prank call. They're like, yeah. It's like, I'm gonna kill you. And they're like, oh, okay, I don't give a fuck. Like, you're irrelevant. You're not gonna do anything. You don't even know where we live. They were wrong on that. So yeah, Barb kind of takes this as a joke. She's like, oh, come the fuck on. What are you gonna do? Like, a younger student, Claire Harrison, suggests that the caller could be a rapist before returning to her bedroom to pack her suitcase. She's going off for the holidays, as is most of these sorority girls. All right. Yeah. Right when she leaves, Mrs. McHenry, who's hilarious, Mrs. Mac, the house mother, arrives and is immediately given a negligee by the girls. They kind of like play tricks on her. It's like a sorority fraternity tradition to do shit like that, you know. As Claire packs her things upstairs, she fails to notice the intruder hiding behind a plastic dress bag. Claire eventually hears the cat meowing from the closet and slowly approaches it, only to be suffocated with a plastic dress bag. She is the first death of the film. As the party wraps up, the killer carries Claire's body into the attic and places her into a rocking chair by the attic window, and that's kind of what you see on the movie poster. Very iconic kill in for a horror movie. It's great. The following morning, Claire's father arrives to take her home for Christmas break, but she fails to show up. So obviously she was planning to go home for the holidays, visit her family. When her father shows up, they don't know where the fuck she is, right? Mrs. McHenry assumes Claire went to the fraternity house for a party and helps Mr. Harrison look for her. That doesn't make sense. Why would she go to a frat party when she has to fucking go home for the holidays? That's a dumb assumption. Later that day, Jess goes to a conservatory to meet her boyfriend, Peter, and explains to him that she is pregnant and planning to get an abortion. So obviously, you know, the teenage struggle is you're in college, you get pregnant, you pretty much want to abort it because you don't have a job to uphold anything. So that's kind of her Yeah, but this angers Peter, and he forces her to continue this discussion later that night. He wants to argue his case. He wants to not abort the baby. He wants to have the baby. He's always wanted a baby, and when she wants to abort it, he isn't very happy. And obviously, this starts to build suspense as to starts to build some suspicion as to who is the fucking killer in the house. Now we should kind of know who it is, but we don't. We can't just assume he did this. In town, Mr. Harrison, Barb, and Phil attempt to report Claire is missing to Sergeant Nash, who doesn't take them seriously. Now, obviously, this is just in the law enforcement system, in the judicial, the law system, whatever. The authorities never take shit like this serious. It's just, he just looks at it as like a foolish college girl that went with a boyfriend to like a cabin or something, which is really stupid. That's another dumb assumption. Stupid assumptions after stupid assumptions made. At the police station, they learn that a high school girl, Janice Quaife, has also vanished. So now they're looking at this like, oh shit, we kind of have some coinciding things. We can probably start a case up and see who did this and see who stole them, killed them, whatever they did. After putting a drunken Barb to bed, Mr. Harrison, Chris, Jess, and Phil help search for the missing girl. So they kind of start the search party. Meanwhile, the house mother, Mrs. McHenry, discovers Claire's body, and the killer throws a crane hook into her face, hanging and killing her. That was fucking vicious. The kills, it seems like a very jolly, very lighthearted, very joyful movie, but the kills are fucking crazy. They're pretty brutal. So yeah, there you go. The second death happens with Mrs. Mack, the house mother. It's kind of suspenseful, like who's going to die next. That's kind of like the point of this film, I feel like. Kind of like the shock value, the entertainment of it all. In the park, the missing girl's disfigured body is found by the police. So we figured out that this missing girl has been killed. So now they kind of think like, oh shit, Claire might have met a similar fate. Obviously they hope not, but they have some suspicions that she could have died from a killer or something. Let's go. Jess answers another obscene phone call and decides to file a report with the police, only for Peter to surprise her. Why is he in the house? Again, that raises suspicion. A lot of red flags. He attempts to persuade her into marriage, but she refuses and reaffirms her decision to have an abortion. Like, no, we're not getting married. I'm aborting the baby. Yada, yada, yada. So, and once you get married, you can't, lie to each other. That's kind of, we saw that in Better Call Saul. I'm reviewing Better Call Saul, and we kind of saw it there. Peter leaves angrily while Lieutenant Fuller arrives with a telephone lineman to bug the phone and to track every last phone call, where it's coming from, who's calling, that type of stuff. Jess stays up to pick up the phone, but leaves when she hears Barb having an asthma attack. We think she's getting, killed at first, but she's good for now. Barb claims that she had a nightmare where she saw a man walk into her room. It could possibly be the Black Christmas Killer, and she has a nightmare, and when you have nightmares and you have asthma and you're, heavy breathing, obviously you're going to have an asthma attack. After calming her down, Jess hears Christmas carolers at the front door and leaves Barb unattended. The dumbest thing she could have done here. The killer walks into Barb's room and stabs her to death with a glass unicorn figurine, just using the environment to kill his victims. Now Barb is dead. Her cries for help are drowned out by the caroling, so obviously Jess completely ignores it and allows the killer to do his killings. Jess experiences another unnerving phone call in which the caller restates her argument with Peter. So again, more suspicion that this could be Peter, or maybe it's a guy that's listening in and stalking Jess. But we're pretty much it's pretty much just further confirmation that the killer is Peter. Lieutenant Fuller calls her to say the attempt to trace the call failed and theorizes that Peter could be responsible, but Jess doubts this. She wants to have faith in humanity. She's like, I don't think so. I think he's too good of a person. But that's the problem with some of these situations, right? It happens in real life. You put too much trust into someone, they do something wrong, and you never want to accuse them of doing it. So they're like, you need to give us time to stay on the phone so we can hear what this person's saying. We can find the line. We can track where the call's coming from. After Jess and Phil are spooked by a couple of search party members, they set out and lock up every door and window in the house. They decide to stay in the house to make sure a killer can't get in the house and take people and whatnot. Phil sees Barb's door closed and goes to check in on her, only for her to be killed off screen. They don't show the killing of her, but Phil dies, and now it's just Jess at the house with the police car outside, I think, or was. Jess gets one final phone call in which the killer alludes to some sort of transgression between two children named Agnes and Billy, assuming that's what, because Peter wants children, right? Assuming this is what his children's names were going to be if he has children with Jess, right? The call is long enough to be traced, and Sergeant Nash instructs Jess to leave the house immediately, as the calls are coming from within the house. So she finds out they're coming from the house, right? And she knows that Peter's been in the house, so it could be him, you know? But obviously they shouldn't have told her that the caller was coming from the house. They should have just told her to run. But obviously Sergeant Nash, this stupid police officer, didn't do his job. Concerned for Barb and Nash, she ventures upstairs where she discovers their bodies, and she realizes that the missing people have been killed. Jess sees the killer's eye through a door crack. Very fucking terrifying scene here. As she slowly begins to close it on her. She slams the door in his face and runs downstairs. So now she's it's 1v1. She's running from this killer. Jess flees into the basement and locks it shut as the killer bangs on it. So she's running away from him again and again. She then hears footsteps walking away and presumably the front door opening. However, when she walks downstairs into the basement, Jess sees Peter peek through a window and call her name. He breaks the window and enters the basement as he calls her name worriedly. Acting like he's worried, but really he's the damn killer. Once Peter finds her, he begins to approach her as she backs in and clutches the fire poker. The police arrive and hear Jess screaming, running away from him. They discover her barely conscious in the basement with Peter's bloody body next to her. Believing that Peter was the killer, they put Jess to bed, sedated in her room, and leave her alone in the house with a cop standing outside. The killer's voice is heard from the attic, implying that he is still alive. The still undiscovered bodies of Claire and Mrs. McHenry are seen through the attic window before the house's telephone begins to ring, leaving Jess's fate ambiguous. You gotta leave some stones unturned. That's what makes movies effective, especially for this time, I guess. Let's see here. Let's look at the critical response, I guess. Mixed reviews. It's a wood unit that raises the question as to why was it made. What? It's a bloody, senseless kill-for-kicks feature that exploits unnecessary violence in a university sorority house operated by an implausibly alcoholic ex-hoofer. Its slow-paced and murky tale involves an obscene telephone caller who apparently delights in killing the girls off one by one, even the hapless house mother. That's weird. It is kind of weird that he killed the mother. 1.5 out of 4 in the Chicago Tribune, a routine shocker that is notable only for indicating the kind of junk roles that talented actresses are forced to play in the movies. Wow. Some people did not like this movie. I think it was pretty good. Before it maddeningly overreaches in a gratuitously evasive ending, Black Christmas is a smart, stylish, Canadian-made little horror picture that's completely diverting. It may well be that its maker simply couldn't figure out how to end it. It seems like that. It's gotten positive over time. Rotten Tomato reviewed it, gave it a 71%, 34 reviewers, 6.26 out of 10. The rare slasher with enough intelligence to wind up the tension between bloody outbursts. Black Christmas offers fiendishly enjoyable holiday viewing for genre fans. 65 out of 100 on Metacritic. Generally favorable movie with 9 critics to it. The film is innovative. The leading actresses, Olivia Hussey and Margot Kidder, did great in this movie. 3 out of 4 stars on TV Guide. Although strictly standard fare, the material was elevated somewhat through Clark's skillful handling of such plot devices as obscene phone calls from the killer to the girls via the upstairs phone, and a nicely handled twist ending, which provides a genuine shock. 2.5 out of 4 from Leonard Maltin. It's bizarre, but also Kidder's performance was great. It was a standout moment for the film. The film manages a good slice of old-fashioned suspense. I think it's pretty good. It's really cool to watch during Christmas. You could watch it on Halloween. It's very versatile in that aspect, I guess. But I don't really have much to say about it. Maybe Call of Duty stream tonight. I've been trying to get a stream up all weekend, but I've never really had the time to do so. We'll see. I doubt it. There's a football game on tonight I'll be watching. It probably won't be that good of a game. There's only 2 NBA games, so stay tuned for the NBA recap later tonight. It's going to be like maybe 6 minutes, so yeah, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm out. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I would recommend Black Christmas. I don't think I've watched a terrible movie and reviewed it on this channel. I'm just kind of getting into the classic horror movies before we get into other suggestions, But Black Christmas, I saw a lot of classic horror movies to watch, but I'm out, guys.